All right, guys, today we're going to be going over how to break a fast. I'm also going to be sharing with you guys a recipe that uses all the ingredients that we're going to be talking about on how to properly break an intermittent fast. So if you guys are brand new, we're actually in week 2 of the New Year Intermittent Fasting Challenge. I have all the details for it down in the description below if you guys want to check it out and join us. But yeah, today we're going to be talking about how to break a fast the right way, because unfortunately, a lot of people aren't doing it the right way. So when it comes to breaking a fast, there's 3 main really big important components that we need to be making sure we're getting at every meal, but especially when you go to break your fast. This, regardless of what your goal is, whether you're looking to achieve a weight loss goal or build muscle mass, you need to be breaking your fast with these 3 components, maybe in varying amounts depending on your goal, but you need each of these 3 components. So the first one, the most important one, is going to be protein. So I actually have a couple different protein sources here, Greek yogurt and also protein powder. So we'll be going into that with the recipe in just a little bit. But the reason why protein is so important and why it's so crucial that you're actually getting enough and of the right types of protein too, is because you need it to help prevent muscle loss. So there have actually been some studies where they compare very low calorie diets that are also low in protein versus very low calorie diets that are moderate to higher in protein, where you're actually getting your protein needs. And those who had that moderate or higher amount of protein did not experience that dip in metabolism that the people who had a low calorie, also low protein diet. So it's really important to make sure to help protect your metabolism, help to protect muscle mass loss, especially if you're doing my workouts. I don't know if you guys have been doing my workouts. I did the upper body push this morning, but Trevor did too. He's right behind the camera and he got a little bit sore. But it's really important to make sure you're getting enough of the amino acids to help recover from those workouts. Otherwise, during those workouts, when you're working out in a fasted state, you're breaking down your muscles and then you're not going to be getting enough of the amino acids to help them recover. And if you do that, you're just breaking down your muscles. And that's a big component of why you'll experience a decrease in metabolism, because you're not ever actually building up your muscle mass. Also, for insulin sensitivity, the more muscle mass you have, the more insulin sensitive you are. So really important factors, but another important factor for protein is making sure it's a complete protein, specifically one that's going to be high in leucine. So leucine is an amino acid that is kind of like the limiting factor when it comes to muscle growth. So you'll see this in a lot of like sports nutrition studies on the different types of amino acids and which one actually causes muscle to grow. Leucine is the amino acid that's the limiting factor. So you want to make sure that the protein sources you have are going to have a rich source of leucine. And usually that's going to be, of course, a complete protein source. You can also get it from non-complete, but you're going to get everything you need from complete protein sources. So this can be like protein powder, Greek yogurt. If you're plant-based, you could use tempeh or soy. If you aren't plant-based, you have a whole spectrum of different types of proteins like chicken, beef, pork, whatever, eggs, of course. Today we're going to be using Greek yogurt and protein powder, a little combo there. All right, so then the next most important factor is going to be fat. And this is one that a lot of people, I think, understand that fat is important, but it's hard to get what we know down into our heart as well and make sure that we can understand it at the emotional level too, because there's been unfortunately so much dogma around fat being bad for so long that a lot of us are just emotionally trained to try and avoid fat, even though we know it's actually a good thing. So the reason why fat is really important, first of all, it helps keep you satiated. So just like with protein, which is something we didn't mention earlier, but protein helps keep you really satisfied and help prevent hunger during your fast the next day. Fat does the same thing, but it activates a different hormone called cholecystokinin. So you want to make sure that you're getting both protein and fat to make sure you're fully satiated and you're not hungry during your fasting period. But on top of that, there's actually a really cool study that I just learned about from an insulin researcher, where he pointed out that when you have just protein sources, like just a lean protein, like let's say just a protein shake, for example, versus a protein, the same amount of protein that also has fat, you actually have more muscle growth when you combine the protein and fat versus just half the protein alone. So you want to make sure that, again, that you're getting the bang for your buck, that you're helping to protect your muscles. And by getting both the protein and the fat combined, you get both of that. So for today's recipe, we'll be doing hemp seeds. We have peanut butter, coconut butter, and I think that's it for today. So a lot of really great high quality fat sources. You just want to make sure that they are anti-inflammatory, preferably also fiber fat. So you get fiber in there too. So with hemp seeds, you have a little bit of fiber. Chia seeds is one of my favorites. Same thing with flax seeds, avocado, really great sources of both fat and fiber. Which brings me to the fiber component. The fiber is really great because it helps to really slow that release of the glucose into the body. So even if there is just a small amount of glucose or sugar inside of your meal when you go to break your fast, you want it to be released slowly, because that will also really dictate how big or small the insulin spike, which is our storing hormone, will be. So when we are combining the protein, the fat, as well as the fiber, we want to make sure that it's not going to have too much of the sugar, otherwise can really cause a big spike. So really great sources of fiber are going to generally be seeds. So I have hemp seeds. This is actually not the most rich source. If you want a really rich source of fiber, then get chia seeds or flax seeds. But surprisingly, coconut butter actually has quite a bit of fiber in there as well, more than you would think. Each tablespoon has 2 grams of fiber, which is more than you'd usually assume with a fat. Okay, so now let's get into the smoothie recipe, the thing that's so important. So we have the base. So we're going to be putting all of this together with the protein, the fat, as well as the fiber. So we have the base, which is going to be coconut milk, but you can also use really any type of nut or seed milk, just not oat milk, because oat milk is really high in starches that'll really spike your stored hormone insulin. So especially if you're looking to help ease the transition from a fasted to a fed state, you want to make sure that you aren't using a liquid that's going to have quite a bit of starch or sugar in it. So this is my homemade coconut milk. You guys can see there's like icebergs on top. This is like the extra coconut butter that is like a nice little side effect when you make your own coconut milk. But I'm just going to hold that back for right now because I have additional coconut butter that I'm going to do. So this is my strawberry hemp smoothie. And so for the base, we're going to use about 8 to 10 ounces of coconut milk, or really any other nut or seed milk. But honestly, you could use more or less. If you wanted to make this more of a smoothie bowl, then you might want to use more on like the 6 to 8 ounce side. If you want to use more, or if you like your smoothie a little bit more thin, then you can just add in a little bit more liquid. You can be totally flexible with this. Okay, so now let's do the protein part, because this is, remember, the most important part that you need to be making sure that you're getting every time you break your fast, which I actually do have in the 21-day intermittent fasting program, a whole list of the different protein sources, as well as a protein calculator where you can help determine what your actual needs are. So you know if you need to slightly increase or decrease each of these recipes based off your needs. So I'm going to use, for 2 different sources of protein, a little bit of Greek yogurt. It's one of my favorite sources of protein. So about a half cup in there. And then let me toss that in the sink. And then I also have protein powder. So I'm just using a vanilla protein powder. I have it in a little jar because the label isn't made yet. There might be something really fun coming soon. I'm gonna dump this in now. All right, so we have our protein base. If you use about a half a cup of Greek yogurt, I probably have Greek yogurt on my face actually right now. I feel like I do. So if you use about a half cup of Greek yogurt as well as a half serving of protein powder, you get roughly about 20 grams. If you need a little bit more protein at each meal, then you could just increase either the protein powder or the Greek yogurt, either or, to get it up to your needs. All right, so we have the protein covered. Now we need the fat. So with the fat, we have a couple different types of fats that we're using for this recipe. Remember, we want like those fiber fats so you can kind of cover your fiber needs from a whole food source as well. So I'm going to be using hemp seeds. So we have some hemp seeds here, but you can also swap it out for like chia seeds or flax seeds if you wanted to as well. It just wouldn't be a strawberry hemp smoothie anymore. So I'm going to do 1 tablespoon-ish, like eyeballed in there. And then we have the coconut butter. So I actually just bought this coconut butter, so I'm going to have to like stab it in order to get it out, especially because it's been a little cold here. So you can always tell the temperature or like what season it is based off of how hard or soft your coconut butter is. If it's melted, you know it's summer. And if it's a rock, you know that it's winter. All right. So I'm going to use about a tablespoon in this. What's also really great about coconut butter, like breaking your fast with coconut butter specifically, I found that with smoothies, it tends to make it really creamy. So if you like your smoothie on the creamier side, then using coconut butter as one of your fats would be a really great option. Okay. So we have one more fat here, and we're going to be using peanut butter. So it's really just for like flavor, but if you're allergic to peanuts, you could use almond butter, or you could double up on the coconut butter as well. So that will just make it so it's more going to taste like a vanilla-y vibe within the smoothie if you double up on the coconut butter. And I'm going to use about a tablespoon in this as well. So this actually, since we're talking about peanut butter, this brings up a good point about complete proteins. I feel like a dog that has peanut butter on top of its mouth. I probably should have done that. Okay. Peanut butter, oftentimes when people are calculating their protein, they'll calculate all protein. Like incomplete sources, like with peanut butter, they'll calculate that. Or from certain beans, they'll calculate that as well. But that actually does not count toward your total protein needs because it's not a complete protein. So it's not used in the same way as regular proteins. So when you're roughly calculating your protein needs, make sure you're calculating it from those complete sources like the protein powder, the Greek yogurt, even hemp seeds has some complete protein there as well. But something like peanut butter, you wouldn't want to count as one of your protein sources because it's not a complete protein. Okay, now for this last part, this doesn't really fall into any of the protein, fat, strawberries. How could I forget? It's a strawberry hemp smoothie. Oh my gosh. Wait, those are peas. Okay. How funny. Okay, so I'm going to use about, I'm going to use about a half cup or maybe like all this bag because I don't have that much left of strawberries. So what's really great if you're working toward a weight loss goal is that any type of berry is going to be one of your best options to use because it's very low in sugar. Like runaway strawberry. Like each cup of strawberries is usually going to be about 7 grams of sugar. So if you're just using a half, that's only about 3.5 grams. So it's a really great option to be adding into smoothies to help keep the sugar content really low. Because remember, if you are working toward a weight loss goal, especially if you're carbohydrate sensitive, you really want to keep the sugar content of all your meals, but especially of your smoothie since it's a liquid, low. So strawberries, raspberries, actually a really great way to get fiber in as well. Blackberries and blueberries are all generally going to be better options than like, let's say banana, mango, or papaya if you are more carbohydrate sensitive. So we have a half cup of the strawberries there. And then the actual last ingredient, we have vanilla extract. So this has been like my secret ingredient lately to add a lot of flavor without adding in more sugar. I just like to use about half teaspoon-ish, like eyeballed in there, so that it helps give that vanilla flavor without having to add in like additional sweeteners. So really the only sugar that's in this is from the strawberries. Technically, you'll see if you look like on a food label for Greek yogurt that there is going to be sugar that's listed for Greek yogurt, but that's actually not entirely accurate because it's fermented, so it's not really sugar anymore. So when you're looking at the sugar content of this, it's really just coming from the strawberries, so it's really low. All right, let's blend this up. Sorry for all the noise for 1 second. Smells so good. It smells like vanilla strawberry milkshake. Okay. Wow. I did not estimate that liquid very well. Oh my gosh. So good. Oh my gosh. It literally tastes like a strawberry milkshake. This is going to be a really good one for you guys to test out because it is so low in sugar, but it also has all of those protein, fat, and fiber components. So if you're drooling right now, me too. But it's really great if you're carbohydrate sensitive or not carbohydrate sensitive because the sugar content is so low. But just take a look at that. Like so pretty too. Let me see if you can see that a little better. There you go. Yeah. like such a pretty color. Well, cheers, guys. This is a strawberry hemp smoothie recipe. It uses the protein, the fat, and the fiber, which is essential when you go to break your fast. If you're wondering, I'm actually going to be breaking my fast a little bit earlier today. I have shifted my whole window by like an hour and a half so that I could actually make the smoothie with you guys live. But if you haven't broken your fast yet, try this and let me know what you think, because I really like this because of the protein, fat, fiber approach, but also the sugar is so low. And the vanilla makes it taste like a vanilla strawberry milkshake. It's amazing. Okay, I'm going to answer some of your questions. I see there's questions on here. Oh, and I usually would add toppings, but our Whole Foods hasn't had the toasted coconut flakes I usually get for literally like 2 months. So I don't know if there's like a shortage of toasted coconut flakes, but I'm really sad about it. All right, so if you guys have questions, throw them in the chat and do a couple question marks before and after, like 4 question marks before and after, so I can go through and answer some of those. Easier for me to find those. But remember, if you want to join the New Year Intermittent Fasting Challenge, we are in week 2 right now, so it's not too late to join. And I have all the details listed down in the description below, link where you can find how to get started, how to join in. So it's been really fun already. A lot of A and peeps have already seen really amazing progress. So I'm excited for you guys to join in. But let's get to these questions. Okay. Oh, interesting. Juliana says she can only find vanilla extract with sugar, and that's why I don't use it. Maybe you could try ordering it if you can't find it at your local grocery store. That could be a better option. Okay. So Angela is asking, is there any difference between cacao nibs and cacao powder? Yes. The only difference is it's blended. It depends on the company. Some will do like maybe a little bit more processing. I would recommend sticking with the cacao nibs. First of all, because then like you can top them on your smoothie as well. So you can use them for multi-purpose and get like a crunch on there. But also from a more practical perspective, there are fats that are within cacao nibs. Cacao can actually be treated like a fat. And if you blend it and then, or grind it like a pre-ground cacao powder, and you just let it sit there, it can get rancid really quickly. So you want to minimize the distance between when it's going to be actually ground versus when you're actually going to be using it. So that way it decreases how quickly it will get rancid. Brenda, oh my gosh, are you making a protein powder? Okay. Madison, how can I tell how much protein I need? So I have a couple different videos, I have blog posts. It's also in the 21-day intermittent fasting program as well, where you can calculate your needs. So it's not like a static number for each person. It's dependent on how active you are, as well as how much muscle mass you have, sugar cravings you're experiencing, as well as your height. So and weight for some purposes. So you'll see that within the 21-day intermittent fasting program, I have that whole page. I think if I have it like off the top of my head, it's page 28. That would be amazing if I got that like right the first time, but I'm not positive. But you can check on the 21-day intermittent fasting program, and it has the exact step-by-step calculator, so you can see how much you need. So that's your total actual number of protein you need for the day. Remember, of complete protein. And then from there, you want to divide it by how many meals you have. So if you're a 3-meal type of person like me, where you have 3 meals during your intermittent fasting window, or your eating window rather, then you'll split it by 3. But if you have 2 meals or 1 meal, then you'll divide by 2 or 1. That's where it can be a little bit tricky with the 1 meal a day, because protein is so satiating. It's hard to get it all at just 1 meal. For some people, it's even just hard to get it all at 2 meals. So you want to play around with it and see what type of meal structure works best for you to get all your protein. So remember, that's like the limiting factor for achieving your goals is going to be protein, and making sure you're getting enough of that, of complete sources. I also have a full list. It would be the page after the protein calculator page, so maybe page 29. Again, really impressive if I get that, where it has all the different complete protein sources listed on there as well. Okay. So BK, how do I manage the lack of sleep when intermittent fasting? I struggle to fall asleep. I used to be the same way, actually. I used to have a lot of troubles. In fact, I still can have a little bit of difficulty falling asleep, just because like I get weirdly energized at night. But I have a bunch of different strategies I've shared in the past on how you can wind yourself down. So a big one is that no tech time, making sure that you aren't watching any TV, you're not on your phone or laptop 60 minutes before bed. This helps to naturally raise your sleep hormone melatonin, make it easier to fall asleep and also stay asleep. Another really, really big one that I shared starting, I think it was during the summer challenge was when we first started talking about it, was the nighttime walk. So just even going out for about 10 minutes at night and going on an evening walk also helps expose your eyes to darkness, which also helps raise your melatonin. So you really just want to try and optimize that 1 hour before sleep. I've talked about magnesium supplements as well in the past. I have a video on that. Just type like Autumn Bates magnesium on YouTube and it'll pop right up. But you just want to make sure you optimize that 1 hour before bed. Even if you don't have time to get 8 hours sleep, you can at least make that however long you have as high quality as possible. Okay. Oh, thanks, Marilee. And if you have bulk stores in your area, you can get coconut flakes in bulk. I will need to test that out. Okay, CJ Cleaning. I just started fasting last night. Welcome. I question carrots the most. Is that a healthy free carb? Carrots, yeah, kind of got a bad reputation for a long time, but unless you're like juicing them where the sugar content is going to be really high, you don't really have to worry about having some carrots in your meal. Unless you're extremely carbohydrate sensitive. And there are those people, but the percentage of people who have that high level of carbohydrate sensitivity where you can't even have a little bit of carrots is likely pretty small. I've seen with most of my clients, as well as with most of the A and peeps, having some amount of carrots in your meals, whether they be roasted or raw, doesn't seem to be a problem. But definitely juicing them, that's where you can get a lot of sugar into that juice. So you just want to stay clear of that. MC, is animal fat also good for us? Yes. So I have a bunch of different fats that I use that are animal-based fats. So we talk about butter, grass-fed butter, which is in my keto coffee, which I didn't actually finish this morning's. All right. Got a little bit for after this. Stoked. But like with grass-fed butter, for example, really rich source of butyric acid, which is a short-chain fatty acid that helps to decrease inflammation within the gut. It's actually been studies showing on how it can improve IBS symptoms by using short-chain fatty acid, butyric acid, which is really rich in butter, specifically grass-fed. But also it's rich in sources like vitamin K2, which is essential for bone and heart health, for getting calcium out of the arteries and into the bones. So there are really great animal fats. There's really great plant-based fats. You just want to get a variety of each. Lynn, what is coconut butter? Is it the same as coconut oil? No. So let me show you actually. So this is a common question that I get. Okay. So here's coconut oil. So you can see, let me see if I can show that to you. Okay. So you can see it has fat, which coconut butter will have as well. And you can see that it also has 0 grams of carbohydrates and 0 grams of protein. So since it has 0 grams of carbs, it also means it has 0 grams of fiber. Coconut butter, on the other hand, so this is like an extraction. You get just the fat out of the coconut. Coconut butter is kind of like where you take coconut flakes and you blend it up. That's pretty much all it is. So you get a little bit more of the protein. Okay, there it goes. You get a little bit more of the protein as well as a little bit more of fiber. So see how it says under carbs, dietary fiber, 2 grams, protein 1. So there is a bit of a difference, which is why I like to use coconut butter in my smoothies. So you get some fiber in there, where with the coconut oil, you don't get any fiber. So that we get the protein, fat, and fiber component. That's a good question. I think I have a blog post on that as well. So I have a lot of like questions that you guys commonly ask on my blog that I've written into full blog post form. So if you go to Autumn L Nutrition, like ELLE, nutrition.com, go to my blog section, I have like 500 articles at this point. So a lot of good information there too. Lorene is asking, can we add vanilla extract to our keto coffee? Yes. In fact, I have a recipe where I think I call it like the vanilla latte, sugar-free. I forget what I specifically call it, but again, on my blog, I shared like a vanilla-y latte coconut coffee. Wait, coconut coffee, keto coffee. Too many words in my head right now. I have that where you put in vanilla extract to get like a vanilla latte flavor. So you guys can check that out too. I have like my blog broken up into different categories. So one whole section is just healthy recipes. And I have a lot of recipes on there that you guys can test out for free too, including that vanilla latte option. Ooh, Lori, this is fun. If we want to shake things up, can we use peppermint extract instead of vanilla? Yeah, totally. I don't actually ever have those. I don't really experiment with it. But what I do like to do is get like fresh mint and put that into my smoothies. But if you like the extract option, you can do that as well. I have a recipe that I think was in my, forget if it was in the smoothie challenge from last year or if it was in the 6 week summer meal plan. One of them was like a mint mojito style smoothie where I put in fresh mint. So you could do fresh mint, you could do extract, either or. But yeah, that's a really fun way to switch things up. Okay. Sella is asking, is it much more effective to work out fasted, say in the morning versus after I've broken my fast? There's pluses and minuses to both, but what I found, actually a video coming out this week comparing the differences of working out fasted versus not fasted. But I found for most people's wellness goals, working out fasted tends to be better because you get more of the utilization, or you get to use more fat as fuel when you're working out fasted because you're naturally using fat as fuel during that state. So you get more of the benefits of using fat as fuel when you work out fasted. Plus, when you're fasted, you have increased growth hormone, which helps to protect your muscles a little bit more than when you're fed or once you've eaten. The one caveat of when you might want to work out in a fed state is if you're like a sprinter and you were training for sprint races where you really need to make sure that your glycogen is specifically topped off. That is really like the main time that you would specifically want to work out during the fed state. Bojo wife, what protein powder is best? More information on that soon. Thoughts on kefir? Kefir can be a good option. So kefir, for those of you who don't know, is like kind of it's similar to any fermented dairy product, except that it's going to have a little bit more lactose and less protein. So in terms of, it really just depends on how you're using it. So if you're using it as like a liquid base, and if you're not very carbohydrate sensitive so that the lactose that's still in there doesn't really affect you, it can be definitely used as a liquid base and help contribute a bit to the complete protein. But it's not likely going to have enough protein for your needs if you just rely on the kefir. Usually, if I remember correctly, it's like 8 grams per cup, where with Greek yogurt, you get about 20 grams per cup. So it's a lot more dense to be using something like Greek yogurt as your protein versus kefir. But you could definitely use it if you aren't very carbohydrate sensitive. But if you are carb sensitive and you notice that carbohydrates tend to affect you more, then you'll want to not use that as a liquid base. Maybe just have a little bit here and there, but not something that you rely on heavily. Okay, couple more questions. Oh, wow, Phoebe, thank you. Whoop, whoop, auto and protein calculator on page 28, indeed. What could I say? I was going over that program for a long time. I think I have all the pages memorized now. Sarah, if I started the detox a couple days late, can I go right into intermittent fasting program with everyone today? Is this your first time? If this is your first time, then I would recommend you just do detox week this week. In fact, I saw Corolla, which is one of the AIM peeps. You guys have met her before. She started the detox this week as well. So you can join Corolla and do detox week. There's other AIM peeps who are just starting this week as well. So don't feel like you're left behind or anything. Everyone's starting at different times depending on their journey and what their schedules were like. So if you have to start this week and it's your first time, start with detox week, because that is really important for setting you up for success for the 21-day intermittent fasting program. But if you've done this program in the past, if this is not your first time, you can pair intermittent fasting with the detox, and that's perfectly fine. But if it's your first time, please make sure you do the detox first. Trust me, it'll really help to prepare you for the 21-day program. Microgreens grower wants to know about the breakfast smoothie. So I will be posting this video after. It'll be live on my YouTube channel as well. So you can go back and rewind if you missed the actual smoothie recipe, which if you guys are just joining in as well, if you just joined into the live stream, this is for the second week of the New Year Intermittent Fasting Challenge. We broke down how to properly break a fast, as well as a smoothie recipe that uses all those components. So you can rewind, rewatch this later, share it with a friend who doesn't know how to break a fast, and save them all the trouble of improperly breaking a fast and how terrible that feels. But yeah, so you can just rewind this later. And if you want to join in on the 21-day intermittent fasting program, and the 28-day New Year challenge. You can check out the details down description below. Weasel is asking, if you make a bread out of just flax or chia, will that work against your wellness goals? No, I actually have a flax bread recipe where it's just flax, eggs, I think it has a little bit of water and a little bit of baking soda, if I remember correctly. It's on my blog as well. So if you go under like the healthy recipes tab of my blog at autumnlnutrition.com, then you can find that flax bread recipe too. And that's actually a great option where it's pretty much just pure high quality fat, fiber, and protein. So you can make like a breakfast sandwich if you wanted to out of it. That was actually something I was thinking of adding into something else soon. Okay. Okay, couple more questions. So Dale is asking, for people like me over 60, any additional advice? Yes. So couple things to consider, like if you're postmenopausal or if you're just over the age of 60. First of all, for just general aging, you're going to see increased levels of insulin resistance. That's just for everyone. Everyone experiences increased levels of insulin resistance, which is why you might have noticed like what worked before doesn't work now, even though you're doing the exact same thing. That's because insulin resistance tends to go up as we age. So it's really important to make sure you're especially taking care of sticking with low sugar options that won't greatly spike your insulin, making sure that you're not adding in a significant amount of starches if you are more particularly carbohydrate sensitive. Another factor to consider as well is that bone density tends to go down as we age and protein needs tend to go up. So that is really important to factor in. So really make sure that you are calculating your protein needs because that'll help to protect your bone density, which is really, really important for preventing osteoporosis. So if you're a woman, osteoporosis is actually pretty common. So you want to make sure that you are getting enough protein as well as weight-bearing exercise. So you guys have seen in the 21-day program, I have all of those workout videos for you that are included. Also listed down description below, but that's to make sure that you're not just getting the insulin sensitivity perks, but that you're also helping to challenge your muscles and help to protect your bones for the future. All the positive things we want. Okay, like one or two more questions. Esther is asking, how often per year do you do challenges? Join for the first time and liking it. Well, welcome. We usually do about 4 challenges per year, so like 1 per season, but sometimes we'll throw in additional like smoothie challenges. So just make sure that you're subscribed to my weekly newsletter. I also have that listed down description below where I let you guys know on like when the upcoming challenges are and what to look out for. We have a lot of really exciting things coming this year. Like it's been hard to keep it in, but a lot of really fun things happening soon. All right. Lori, how do you feel about balsamic vinegars, no sugar or color additives? Down 7 pounds now in 9 days, loving your program. Congratulations, Lori. That's great. So balsamic vinegars are really fantastic because they are fermented. So they aren't going to have as much sugar in it as the original like wine or apple juice or whatever type of juice that it started off from, like apple cider vinegar, for example, is from like apple juice or apple cider. And then balsamic is usually from like grape juice, just like wine. So it is going to be a lower sugar option, which is fantastic. Just make sure you're looking out for the glazes. The glazes is where it can get a little tricky. So you'll see this often at like Trader Joe's. Sometimes Whole Foods has this as well, where they make a vinegar into a glaze where it has like added sugar in it. So that's where it'll taste like very sugary, but it'll have more sugar in there. So you just want to watch out for those glazes. Just stick with the actual true vinegars and that shouldn't be a problem. Okay, one more question. Michelle is asking about, is it okay to have quinoa at your dinner instead of rice? I love having rice a couple times a week and I'm not carbohydrate sensitive. Yeah, quinoa would be a better option than rice. Rice, especially white rice, is going to have such a big insulin spiking effect. And if you aren't carbohydrate sensitive, then quinoa would be a better option. Quinoa also does have a little bit more protein in it, so you get the added benefits there. Where it'll more slowly release the glucose from the quinoa into the body. So remember, speed is a big important factor too. You get a much bigger rush of that glucose in your body from rice than you do with quinoa. But keep in mind, I'm glad you noted you're not carbohydrate sensitive. So if not, then that's fantastic. You can definitely use that. Just make sure you're getting enough of your protein in there as well. But if you are carbohydrate sensitive, then quinoa and rice, both are probably not a good option. You can instead try things like cauliflower rice, which I have the cauliflower rice burrito bowl from the 21-day program. Or using like zucchini noodles or hearts of palm has actually like started to blow up lately and have a lot of really great products like where you can do hearts of palm rice and it's just hearts of palm or hearts of palm pasta. A lot of really great things with hearts of palm. It's just hearts of palm. So that's another good option if you are carbohydrate sensitive. But if you aren't, then quinoa is a better option than rice. Great questions. All right, guys. So this is the second week of the New Year Intermittent Fasting Challenge, but it's not too late to join. So if you guys want to join in with all of us, all the AM peeps, make sure you check out the link down in the description below. I believe I have it as like the first link. We'll also be doing another live stream next week for week 3 of the challenge. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Otherwise, thanks for tuning in. Cheers, smoothie cheers, as well as keto coffee cheers. I'm going to finish that in a little bit too. But yeah, thanks guys. I'll see you in